Hello, programming engineers. Welcome back once more to this drives course. We're already wrapping up the course. I'm very happy for everything that we have seen and everything that we've lived. Honestly, it's been a very extensive course, but you have no idea how much I've enjoyed this. So in the meantime, I'm going to explain to you in today's topics our very famous data links and how we're going to create more parameters within our program. Also, explaining our ADC, sorry. All right, so in our memories, we have for inputs and outputs our very famous wording for our drive status, which, if you remember, internally it's this, okay? These are 16 bytes. So our logic command word are for these bytes, or 16 other bytes. But additionally, for our inputs, these are two words. Our drive status word and our output frequency word. So for our outputs, we have our logic command word and we have our frequency command, which is what we are going to command, or at least to be able to add its drive velocity. So we only have two words, but everything has a purpose. Everything has a reason for our drive configuration, our drive setup. So to add our data links, I recommend that we go offline and we open our setup for our device, which is PowerFlex 525. And here in device definition is where we're going to be able to select our inputs and outputs. For example, here in connection format, it is a mapping. And our mapping basically means that we're going to pull from all parameters that we have in our drive internally. We're going to separate them. We're going to segment them by saying, well, I use this one, but I don't use this one. So only by using them as inputs and outputs. So everything makes a lot of sense, and I'm telling you this because automatically our drive already ran its mapping, which is what they consider matches the drive, which is the drive status map drive, which are integrated by these booleans. That's why I told you about this. And then there's a new word, which is a double integer, remember, which is our output frequency. So it's only a frequency, which is actually what's moving. And in our output, we have our logic command word, which is start, stop, which are all the movements that we're going to command our drive to do. And our second word is our command frequency, which is what we are indicating for velocity for our drive. Now, this that we have here, what is next is our data links, which is nothing more than our parameters. So if we wish to add more things additionally, or more memory, or more parameters for our program, then in that case, for example, if we wish to modify our acceleration time, we should locate if this is an output actually, or an input. So since we're going to modify, it should be a drive, an output. And here our deceleration time. We're going to click on OK. They're going to tell us, well, would you like to change the module definition, and we say yes. And let's see what happens here for our controller tags, where we go to our outputs. Or we could be capable of modifying our acceleration and deceleration time. You see this? So if I wish to get a reading, then I go to Properties, Device Definition, and now on my input part, I go, let's say, to all parameters. And let's suppose that I wish to view my output voltage. So we're going to click OK. We say yes. Okay. Now we go to our inputs. And magically, we have our output voltage. Well, magically for us programmers. Okay? So then this is the way that we add our parameters that we wish for. So we can add whatever type of parameter if you wish to tune through your drive. But I wouldn't recommend it unless you're very well protected and you have your password. So that not every operator can select this. Because our tuning part, once it's already been done effectively, it would be very strange if we have to retune our drive, and in this case our motor. So therefore, we can use any type of parameter. Okay? Now this is the advantage for our communication part. Now, in summary, all of this is in our integrated input through one program, which is what Alan Bradley is affecting it for. It actually was affected already. Everything wants to be affected by our Studio 5000 program. If we wish for more parameters, we take them from here. So then this is the advantage for our PowerFlex. And now I'm going to show you, and I'm going to explain to you our very famous ADC setup. First, we go to our drive properties, and we're going to head over to device definition. It actually says so right here, ADC disabled. But what is ADC? What Alan Bradley wants to do is a complete device integration of our control devices. In this case, anything that is through our Ethernet communication wants to be handled, they want it to be handled in one only place. Which space? Studio 5000. If you see here, we already got our parameters for input and output. We already got also any type of command for startup and stop. We have everything controlled here, and we can play with our programming so we can add time. It all depends on our permission that is being activated. We can also add our security part and our safety part, and also something that Alan Bradley thought of was, let's imagine that I already have my PowerFlex set up. We have many parameters that are already been established, that are already been set up for acceleration and deceleration. But what would happen if something happens to my drive? Let's suppose that this burns out. So will my plant stop completely, or my line? So ideally, we would need to download from my CCW or my workbench all the information, for example, here for project 1, 2, depends on what it is. So I open this, say yes, and I would need to download, well, select the path, which here it is, so that I can download, and we go here to communications, select our drive, and I would have to set up my Ethernet part. so that I could then download all the information, which I already have stored for my parameters in my PowerFlex. How long is that going to take? Probably around 10 or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, but it all depends on if it's available or not, the file, because maybe it got lost. Okay, so that's what Alan Bradley thought of, where they say, well, there should be a way which is quicker and easier so that we can load those parameters to any type of PowerFlex, just as long as it's the same model and it matches exactly for the same thing. So, since this information is actually stored in my PLC, what they said was, let's suppose that this drive is burnt out. But if I have my ADC function active, which is automatic device configuration, at the moment when I connect my PowerFlex device with the same characteristics that I already had, the parameters are going to be uploaded automatically. That's the ADC advantage. All we need is our processor, have our ADC box checked, and if my drive burns out, it's not a problem. I just disconnect it, connect my other drive, and I'm not going to load any parameters. All I'm going to do is with my Ethernet IP connection, we're going to be able to identify that the device is exactly the same as the previous one. And it's going to download all the information automatically. Okay? So that's the advantage for this tool. Now, of course, I recommend that you leave this enabled. Okay? And with this, now we are done with this topic. Okay? So my deepest congratulations for getting to this part of the video. And I'd like you guys to continue practicing here. I'm just going to save this. I'd like you guys to practice in your houses, with your emulators, in your office. Upload a PowerFlex here. Okay? And go online and start practicing. Imagine complete systems, not only with one drive, but you can also upload here more than 5 drives. And start synchronizing these commands between one drives and the other, or if one was done and the other one started, and run their logic. Everything through communication. Again, I know that this is complicated for some engineers, if not for most of us, to have our devices ready. If it were up to me, I would love to have 10 PLCs here with me, but they're pretty expensive, and if we're students, it can get pretty complicated. So that's why I fight for you guys to get the emulator part or the simulator part so that you guys can practice the most you can. That's why I added maybe even step by step as if we were little kids or babies, but I would have loved that someone would have explained this to me this way, that I was explaining it to you. So that's why I want you guys to have a good feeling about this course, because this was very different from everything or anything else that you guys had taken. So that's why I wanted to include everything I could, and probably going to take more than you took these more than 10 hours, of course. I wanted to avoid a lot of theory and go straight to the practical stuff, so that you guys can tell the difference between one drive and another one. Is there a lot of similarities or none? But we were basically able to start with all drives that we had in front of us, which is the same thing that I want you guys to run, following the same methodology that I showed you guys. Following all those steps, good practices related to installation, safety, security, and trust me that this is everything that's necessary so that you guys become specialists in the drive part. If you want some sort of a different type of parameter, if you have any questions, I recommend that you guys become the most self-taught as possible. But if at some point you say, I don't really understand this part, and I think this parameter could work, or I have the same parameter in my job and I can't really remove this fault, or something similar, tell me about it, guys. Write it down in the comments, and I can go ahead and read them for you. Okay? I've been through many, many situations and many things, and I know where the pains are in my machine and where the issues are with my drives. And if I don't know, and if you don't know, sorry, we can all of us figure it out together and we can resolve it. Remember that logic is always going to be above everything else. Okay, so having said this, now guys, this is goodbye for me for now. I'd like to send out a big hug for all of you, and we're going to continue being in contact. If you have any questions, give it to me in the comments. If you've still not graded this course, please leave it to me in your comments, whether it's good or bad. And if it's bad, it doesn't matter because it's also good for feedback. Okay, I've gotten the comments in other courses that maybe we missed one topic or something that we missed, and I update my courses constantly. I added to that topic, and again, that student that had any questions, they notice this, they contact me again, they thank me, and it all depends on changing. It's all about changing, any feedback. If it's good, obviously, I get motivated in continuing with this. But what I want is to use the most automation courses as possible, and that we become the best automation academy in Latin America. I don't want you guys to feel underprotected, but I want that all automation topics be here. Okay? Now, with this, now I'd like to, move apart from this, and I'd like to tell you guys this. This was one of my favorite courses. I hope you guys learned a lot from this. And I'll see you guys on our next course. Big hug, guys.